Waiting on us. I want to call to order the monthly beer board meeting for the city of Shelbyville. This is the September 10th, 2025 meeting. Lisa, roll.
Member LaMattina.
Here.
Member Turner.
Here.
Member Shaquin.
Present.
Member Cannon. Chairman Fisher.
Here.
Chairman, you do have a quorum, 4 members present, 1 absent.
Okay, first, need approval of the agenda.
Motion.
Second. Okay. Yeah, we got it. Next is public comments.
We don't have any.
Approval of the minutes from our regular meeting on August 13th, 2025.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Old business, we have none. New business, consideration of an application to sell beer home premise, Jamie Paguada, Latin Drinks, 124 Sunlight Road, Shelbyville, Tennessee, 37160.
Are you going to translate?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll swear you in first. Will you state your name, please?
Jessica Berenstein.
Jessica Berenstein.
Yes.
If you'll raise your hand, your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony that you're going to translate will be true and as clear as possible for this board?
Yes.
So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. And if you'll raise your right hand, state your name for the board.
Este nombre.
Oh, Jamie Paguada. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give before this board will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief, so help you God?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, first thing we're going to do is run through some questions.
Primero va a hacer preguntas.
Have you received and reviewed a copy of the beer rules?
¿Has recibido copia del beer board? Copy of
The beer rules.
beer rules, de las reglas?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you understand the rules of which you have read?
¿Entiende las reglas? Yes.
Do you have any questions of any other rules listed?
¿Tiene preguntas sobre las reglas?
No.
No.
Have you received a copy of the ordinance?
¿Has recibido copia de la ordenancia? De las órdenes. Creo que sí. Está bien.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any questions regarding the ordinance?
¿Tiene preguntas sobre esto?
No.
Have you ever held a beer permit before in Shelbyville or any other jurisdiction?
¿Ha tenido permiso de cerveza anteriormente?
No.
No.
Please describe your experience, if any, with beer sales.
¿Tiene experiencia con venta de... Sí, sí. ¿En qué forma?
He servido alcohol como por 12 años en restaurantes de trabajo.
As a waitress in a restaurant for about 12 to 13 years.
Do you understand that underage sale of alcohol to minors is a violation of the law?
¿Entiende que venta a menores es una violación a la ley? Yes.
Briefly describe your business establishment.
Describa brevemente el establecimiento. Negocio.
De este es un lugar pequeño donde solo se serviría de en un área cerrada.
It's an enclosed, small area, and we would only function on Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 4.
Do you have any questions for the beer board?
¿Tiene preguntas para la comité aquí? No.
Does the cash register software system require birth date for all beer sales?
La caja de registradora requiere que ingrese la fecha de nacimiento para todas las ventas.
No.
No,
No.
la caja, the cash register.
It does not?
Well, she hasn't purchased it yet,
Gotcha. Okay.
but she checks IDs.
Okay, if she does, we highly recommend that.
Okay,
Just,
okay. Dice que recomienda.
are you the property owner for the location in which beer sales will take place?
Es la dueña de la propiedad.
Do you, as the applicant agent, realize that you are responsible as the beer permit holder for all employees' beer sales?
Como la aplicante entiende que es responsable de todos los empleados que tenga. Yes.
Questions?
How are you going to keep people from walking off to different places from where you're selling the beer?
¿Cómo va a mantener que la gente salga de la área que tenga?
Pues el área está cerrada, no van a poder salir por venir por afuera y todos van a traer puestos.
So it's an enclosed area, and she'll have the signs that they can't leave the premises with a cup or beer, and they also have a band, a wristband, so they can leave after their drink is done and remove the band.
How many people will she have working with her?
¿Cuántas personas va a tener trabajando?
Yo
Two. Her and her husband for now.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I could address the board.
absolutely.
I became aware, Lisa forwarded me some email communications that she's had recently with a representative for them, and I want to make certain we understand what's going on. One of the issues that we had with the original application was determining what they were actually doing. You know, you have to be a certain type of business in order to sell beer on premises within the state of Tennessee. And that's defined in state law. And so I think we kept thinking it was going to be a limited service restaurant because I understood they weren't going to have a big menu. So I've been told now they're not preparing any food at all and have no food on the premises. So that raises for me the question, are they even qualified that the type of business they're doing? Now, that's the whole reason we started talking about how they're designing their place, and they would need their kitchen, and they would need a sink, is because they were coming basically as a limited service restaurant, which is defined under state law. And so I looked at the health permit that they sent says that this is a food service establishment, and the capacity is 20. Well, the minimum you have to have for a limited service restaurant is 40. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but originally they came, I thought they were going to have hot dogs and sell some things like that. But so your application is not set up to actually where they fill that in. So, I mean, she has brought you the health permit, but I think you as a board have to explore what type of establishment is it? And does it qualify? And I've got the list of all the things, you know, it could be a full-blown restaurant. It could be a limited service restaurant. There's all different other types of things that qualify, you know, from airports to museums and all those kind of things. But the only thing that I think they would qualify under probably is a limited service restaurant based on what they've said before. But this is a brand new application, and you don't have, I think, any testimony on this application exactly about the restaurant part. So I'm telling you that because I think you need to ask all those questions.
Question was asked about describe the business establishment, but the only thing that was said was the working hours, Saturday and Sunday 10 to 4, and it is enclosed. One of the things I read, there was service of snacks and things in bags, but no cooked food.
No son.
Tiki bar, I think is what they've got described. The type of business is listed as a tiki bar, but it doesn't go into anything further than that. And so, you all need to be able to feel confident that they meet the qualifications of what the state law is, not just ours, but the state law. The state law sets forth what premises those places can be at, the type of business it is. I mean, you can't give a beer permit to a retail dress shop. That's not how it works.
I was under the impression if you sell alcohol at all, you have to sell food. There's no such thing as a bar only, alcohol only establishment in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, you have to have some type of a prepared food on the premises, yes.
May we address?
Sure.
So yes, she is providing snacks. It's, when we called years or months ago, it is, the snacks like pretzels, peanuts, and, oh, what tipo de snacks? Cheetos, like, so we have discussed,
I don't think that
Prepackaged.
qualifies under the law.
Can I address the board and try to help answer some questions with the regards to the,
You need to be sworn in, Dawn.
Yes.
You need to,
I didn't know if I could just help answer some questions with the design and what the intent is behind.
Oh, yeah, we'll hear what you have to say, but you do have to be sworn in.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a phone like that.
State your name.
Dawn Gonzalez?
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give before this board will be true to the best of your belief and knowledge, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, before you say anything, how are you associated?
I'm the architect for the drawings.
But you have nothing to do with
I
the
will
actual business.
not
like
act
you're
the
not-
actual, it was just my understanding of the business itself and needing the drawings and having the drawings designed for them to be able to contain the guests in a containment area.
Okay.
And it was my understanding that they were not, it wasn't necessarily a restaurant. It's a concession stand, which we don't really have any regulations on concession stands, but it would be, so their establishment would be connotative to like a lemonade stand for adults, where they're selling smoothies, and then the smoothies are just spiked with a beer. And then accompanying that, they just have pre-packaged food items like M&Ms and pretzels and pre-packaged stuff. They're not going to actually be preparing and serving food on the premises. Everything's going to be pre-packaged and brought into the little tiki hut, sold like a concession stand like you would have at the high school, but it's for adults. And then, or if you were to go to Davidson County and you go to the flea market at Davidson County, they have the beer stand, or they have the, the lemonade stand, and then they have the pretzel, they're all different mobile unit establishments. So that would be similar to what they're trying to do, not necessarily a full-blown restaurant or small format restaurant. They're literally just a concession stand where,
well,
and then containing the guests in the area as they enjoy their lemonade that's spiked.
that's very helpful, but let me tell you, that's not allowed under state law. Most of the times when you go places to the flea markets or whatever, those are catering license. A mobile food truck cannot get a license to sell alcohol in the state of Tennessee unless it is a catering license, and that's for alcohol and wine. I'm not even sure if we've got a catering license per se. I don't know if we ever adopted that here for just beer. And that's a different animal completely, very different animal. And that's why what's been challenging about trying to help them is
Right.
getting them to understand you've got to be legal. What you're doing as a business has to, first of all, qualify to be able to sell alcohol one way or the other from a beer perspective. So I'll just tell you, this is what the state says as where you can sell beer for consumption on premises. It's a public place which has a seating capacity for at least 40 people, that is kept, used, maintained, advertised, and held out to the public as a place where during regular hours of operation, either alcoholic beverages, beer or wine, is served to patrons. A menu of prepared food is made available to patrons. This next section gets very long, and this is what makes it a limited service restaurant. The gross revenues from the sale of prepared food is 50% or less
Right.
than the gross revenue from the sale of alcoholic beverages, provided, however, that gross revenue of more than 50% from the sale of prepared food shall not prevent a facility from receiving a limited service restaurant license or subject such facility to a fine from the commission. This is talking about TABC if they're selling alcohol, not beer. For having gross revenue more than 50%. For purposes of determining gross revenue from the sale of prepared food, chips, popcorn, pretzels, peanuts, and similar snack items shall not be included in the gross revenue from the sale of prepared food sold. So it's always been my understanding from TABC, you're preparing some type of food on premises, which is why we thought, hey, they told us they were doing hot dogs. Which again, that was a long time ago when they first came on their first original application, but that's what we thought they were doing. And so it sounded like it was going to be a limited menu. Then they have to, the facility affirmatively establishes to the satisfaction of the commission, it is complied and will comply with the requirements of 574204. What that is that certain prohibited sexual and pornographic conduct.
Right.
That doesn't apply here probably. Facility provides adequate security during regular hours of operation. Sleeping accommodations are not provided. Is located within the jurisdictional boundaries of a political subdivision that has authorized the sale of alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises. We got that. C, and the last one is located in an area which is properly zoned. We've got that. Most of that stuff.
So Tennessee doesn't have a limited beer license in and of itself? The state of Tennessee doesn't have like just a limited beer license that would be, like you're going to Myrtle Beach and you're laying by the poolside. They got a tiki hut right there.
The state of Tennessee does not overall issue beer license. And this is why alcohol rules in the state of Tennessee are so convoluted. So convoluted. Because this is the board that actually issues permits on beer. Right. And the city has the right to set a lot of rules around that. However, we can't do certain things that the state has set some ground rules on. And the one thing that the state did, the state pretty much handles entirely alcoholic beverages, which is what I just think of as whiskey.
Gotcha.
And all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then wine. You have to get your license from them. Okay? You get your beer permit from the city. But in terms of where you can sell, because there's two types of license we give here. We give a beer permit for a retailer for you can walk in, buy a pack of, a 6-pack of beer and go out. You can't do it on the premises. The state of Tennessee has clearly stated when you're regulating the manufacture, sale, consumption on premises, these are the businesses that you can give it to. Then it goes on and talks later about, hey, here's what your cities can do for beer. This whole section that talks about the, it's 57.4.101, talks about premises on which certain sales and consumption is authorized. It applies to alcohol, wine, and beer. Mm-hmm. However, to get your license, you got to go somewhere else in the state code, and it says, hey, we give that over to the cities and the counties to make other rules. So if you see somebody and it's someplace else, if you go to a festival, if you're going, the city can't stop somebody that has a mobile food truck that has gone and gotten a TABC license and has a catering license.
Gotcha.
The catering license allows them to have 52 events a year.
Okay.
And a lot of times, though, if that's a festival, well, how that may come back to us is, if it's a private party on private land, I don't deal with that. But if you're trying to sell beer, you may have to come to us and get a special event permit.
Yeah, special event
Permit to do that. And so my concern here is that they may not qualify as a restaurant. I kind of thought they were based on everything we've done before and heard before. That application went away. We're back here, and now I'm hearing their plans for what they're operating has changed again.
And I was unaware of I mean, I, again, can only do what information I was received as well.
Sure,
So it was my understanding that they were just trying to do a concession stand type of establishment.
sure.
And
This
just,
wouldn't be in your,
right, and just
Wheelhouse.
doing smoothie and adding a beer to the, to a smoothie. So smoothie would not necessarily be food. I mean, it's
no,
beverages, but it's non, alcohol, like. So my point was, is they could probably sell a smoothie without the beer, and they wouldn't need the beer license. And then people could do.
yes, as far as they've met the requirements for, again, and it
A
sounds
service
like
of a drink.
and it sounds like they've met for the purposes of the health department and safety regulations for a
Right.
restaurant, they've met those.
Right.
So we
You
can
still
add to the
have
menu.
You still have to look
You
at
have to come back and reapply.
what the,
Because the application doesn't show, is currently not showing. And the thing about the liquor licenses is you have 50% of your sales have to be in the food category.
Understand.
Not smooth, and so it has to be, you have to sell enough hot dogs to
well,
compensate the sale of the smoothies with the beer to be more than 50%.
it actually says this, the gross revenue from sale of prepared food is 50% or less than the gross revenue from the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Okay,
So vice versa.
So vice versa,
And
yeah.
so
Some
we-
states will do it the other way.
And we've not had this issue.
Yeah, that's been the
We've
problem
never
with
had this
everybody.
issue. I mean,
It's like, where do I
everybody that
go?
comes to us is a store, getting a retailer, or a full-blown restaurant that we don't have any questions
Right.
about. We know they're a
Right.
restaurant.
And the
So,
separation, they-
In order to clarify this, in order to meet the category that the state's requiring, we would actually have to increase the railing area to where it had a seating capacity of 40 or more. And then would the board require physical wall enclosures, or does the railing still fall in line with what the board would accept as an enclosure for an enclosure area?
State law, pretty much, and local law too, anticipates that a restaurant might have a patio in which you have something that designates it as an outdoor sitting area in which you can't go past. There's signage you can't go past without that. It's not necessarily that you have to have a full-blown wall. The main thing for us is that not only are you doing what appeared to be a limited service restaurant, you were doing it in a very unusual
Setting.
setting.
Mm-hmm.
And so our concern with they have so many legal questions for them that they need to run through to know, one, are we doing the right type of business? Number two, given where we are we meeting all codes and safety and other regulations that go there?
Right.
And so the whole talk about the sink and the kitchen facilities we're not going to allow someone to do a temporary pop-up shop. You're just going to come every weekend and set up to sell beer. Not going to happen.
Okay.
You're going to have some type of a permanent type of place if you're going to do it every weekend. Otherwise, you're going to have to come here every single time you want to sell and get a special event permit.
But we are a permanent, we've been now 2 years at the flea market, and the capacity at the flea market, it has 4 pavilions. You can fit a lot of people. So this area could be considered as the patio area, because this is
yeah.
the only area that we will be serving. The capacity of the flea market is 100 plus.
But
We're
you're not
there.
selling just in the flea market. Is
We
my
are.
understanding.
We are. We're just selling in the little place at
Well,
the flea
pavilion.
market, in the pavilion.
On the private premises
Yes.
of the
How
flea
many-
market.
When you talk about the pavilion, can you seat 40 people in the pavilion? And you have roped that off.
Well, they currently have, and I don't know if you had a chance to look at the drawings, but the drawings have a aluminum railing that encloses the area with egress, and it shows the egress path that's for code to get, ADA, it's ADA cleared. It's have the egress path that seats the 26, I think it was, with the small table. So that area is enclosed with, and there's also photos on there, so you can see what it actually looks like. So there's aluminum railings that enclose the patio area. So it's contained, so that way when somebody walks up to the concession stand and buys whatever they're buying, and then they have a table to sit at, and it's enclosed in that area, it helps them to also monitor it, so
Right.
that way, somebody can be standing at the gate to make sure nobody's, just
Coming in and out,
randomly
or-
coming in and out
Exactly.
with the drink in hand.
But the pavilion,
But-
you can have more than 100 people on that pavilion.
So your area could be expanded to.
Exactly,
Exactly,
exactly. So
yes.
the pavilion itself has 62 booths, and we're taking 6 of them, I believe. So I believe that between the actual concession stand and the seating area, it takes up 6 pavilions.
Mhm.
So the pavilion has booths on the left side, booths on the right side, 31 on the right side, 31 on the left side. And then there's also 4 other buildings that also have 62 pavilions. So the whole campus is 62 times 4 plus the 30, 60.
You can fit a lot
Yeah.
of people there.
So there's actually 5 pavilions on the whole campus. And then the one is taking up 6 booths to create the concession stand. And then they have a food truck that's there that's selling food out of an actual food truck. And so the food is being sold out of an actual food truck. And then the tiki bar is basically just set up for the smoothies. That is a concession stand type of setup for a tiki bar.
And we do want it to be it is a permanent business. We're not moving
Right.
vendors. We have vendors that started there from day one 2 years ago. And she's been with us with the flea market for 2 years now. So she is a permanent vendor. Now, if one day it goes out of business, and then that's something else. But we are there every weekend, open from 8 to
And that was the reason why they leaned towards wanting to install the permanent sink, because the beer board had shown some concerns of us speccing a portable sink, which is actually created specifically for concession stands. So so I had originally specified a portable, right.
It'll be a restaurant.
Right, and so my thought was it's gonna be a concession stand. I didn't realize that the state of Tennessee requires it to be a full-blown restaurant. I'm from Florida, you've got tiki bars, every beach bar has a tiki bar that's only selling beer and smoothies and liquor, and so.
And it doesn't have a food requirement.
And it doesn't have a food requirement. So
But
again,
with
I
the
wasn't
food
aware of the
requirement-
fact that Tennessee would not allow a concession stand that would be similar to being at a hotel resort that has a tiki bar at the poolside.
Well, you need to understand, the alcohol law in Tennessee
Right.
is so convoluted.
Right,
There are a lot of special places, why you said that.
yeah,
There is a very special definition of hotel and resort areas. There are a million exceptions to this law in
Just not a
various
flea market.
places. And so, where you can do those types of things, some of them are, well, we have 2 special ones here in Tennessee, and they're here in Bedford County, and they're specifically not so much written for beer, they're written for alcoholic beverages, and one is Celebration, and one used to be the old Walking Horse Hotel in Wartrace. They have special state legislation drafted just for them that they could get a license. There's a lot of places in Tennessee. So some of the places that you may go and you get alcohol from, there was a special exception made for them that they've got a license that they can get from the state for whatever. So that's why a lot of people
so would
get
that be an
confused.
application to the state for a special use permit versus
They can't get it
city?
unless they're looking for alcohol. Right now, what they're looking for is beer.
Just beer?
And this
just
is what
want
So
the
it's
beer.
okay for the hard liquor, just not the soft liquor.
Well, that changes a whole lot of things about then they can sell once they have certain types of license.
Right.
That's a whole other issue.
Right, it's a whole nother issue, because then everybody has to be ABC certified and all
It's a whole
that.
different issue at that point.
Crazy.
Right now, we've got somebody that just wants a beer permit.
Right,
My concern is a lot of the things that we've talked about for a year with them,
Yes.
trying to give them direction, was the fact that we thought it was going to be a limited service restaurant. And based on this application, seems to show me that they backed off that. Not only do they not have the numbers, but they're not preparing food on site for a limited
And I think that
restaurant
was
menu.
communication breakdown between them and myself, because I was unaware of state of Tennessee not having a concession special permit for concession stands.
I don't think so.
And so I'm just, from my experience in other states, and I
Sure.
did not, and I couldn't find it. And when I tried to reach out to get clarification to find out what the regulation would be for a concession stand and any design requirements for a concession stand versus it, a limited use restaurant was never even brought to my attention when they brought the project to me. So it was just my understanding that they were trying to do a concession stand and that a limited use based upon a concession stand would definitely not fall into a mini restaurant where you have to have 40 people, like a seating for 40 people.
Well, I'll just tell you, Mr. Chairman and the members of the board, I feel like this matter should be deferred. For us to take a look at that, I know we've gone and gone and gone, and they clearly are serious about this business. They've invested a lot of time and money attempting to get this worked up. So I feel like we probably need to have further discussion and make certain we're not overlooking something that they qualify for, but I don't think they do. And this got to me kind of late, and I was like, wait a minute. I thought we had established a long time ago that we were doing a limited service restaurant.
So, but rolling back that, I believe that a limited service restaurant would need to be fully enclosed. It would not have to, it would not be set up in a concession stand format. So a restaurant, I believe, a commercial restaurant would then roll into a whole new series of construction and requirements.
Well, and that's why, that's not the purview of this board.
Right.
That's why they were like, you've got to talk to codes about what you need.
Right.
And we thought that was trying to be communicated as but you're going to need to be some type of a restaurant to get the beer permit.
Unfortunately, codes kept pointing fingers to the beer board and beer, and I got no clear definition out of the codes department either. Like, they couldn't give me any definitive anything. He couldn't glean me in any direction whatsoever for what I would need about construction requirements for for a concession stand, or if they would require it to be I didn't get that
There may not be
information
any
at all.
codes about that. I don't know
Right.
about a concession stand.
So
But there's certain state regulations, primarily state, not necessarily our local codes, but state about what you have to have if you're having a restaurant.
Right, that's what, and that's
Clearly.
what right, and that's what I was rolling that back to. So it was never brought to my attention that it was trying to be a limited service restaurant. And had I been informed that, it would have been a whole
Right.
different direction. But it was my understanding that they were just looking for a concession stand. And being that I'm from a beachy area, I was just
Sure.
going with a concession stand concept and then trying to see if the city would, agree to having a concession stand that sold beer versus having a full-blown restaurant.
Well, and it's really not necessarily up to the city at this point. I just want to make certain that they're not violating. The one, just sort of basic, the state has defined what beer is, so we have to follow that. And they've got a particular section that kicks off the entire section in Tennessee Code annotated about beer. Here it is lawful to sell wine and other alcoholic beverages as defined, and here's where you go. And beer is defined here to be consumed on the premises of or within the boundaries of, and they start listing them. And there's what,
Right.
20? Oh, I can't remember how many.
I mean, but
23.
but the premises would actually be the whole flea market, but they need to be contained to where it's at. Because
No.
And that's what we're trying to
Premises,
clear.
the
is
premises
would be
Has to be the
the
container.
contained area of restaurant or concession stand where.
Right, they can sell and serve and people consume within the premises, and that has to be clearly defined. It is not the entire flea market.
Right.
People cannot leave that area and drink anywhere else, so they can't drink under that entire pavilion.
No, unless
it would
we
just be the-
increase the railing area
That's
to be able to incorporate more seating area to get to a 40
That's right.
head count,
Right.
to
And
be
so
at least 40 people.
My concern is from a state health inspection, you have to clearly communicate to the state, this is our business. This is exactly what we're doing. This is how many seats we're gonna have. This is what we're gonna serve. So they know what they're looking at from what applies to that. And I think this is how we've gotten all along, is because their business plan has kept changing. What they're doing has just kept changing. And I know some of it is they've been trying to be, flexible is what people have been telling them and respond to
Right.
that, but at the end of the day.
I think it's more reactive design versus trying to sit down with a
It
specific
is.
business plan and then
It
move
is,
forward from there.
it is, and I don't mean any disrespect, but they frankly need their own legal advice. Here's what it takes to try to do that in the state of Tennessee. Here's what, or how, if I want a beer permit, what can I do? Where can that be done? Because you do have to be not only our local law, but state law.
Right.
So what are the local requirements to get this moving? Because we have the railing, we have the covered, we have the health department, we have the codes passed. It's a covered area. It's a area where we're not going to be allowing just anyone to come in and out with beverage. It does have room for expansion. We don't want to expand right now because the flea market is barely hanging on right now with how the economy is. And we want, if it grows, and we're able to expand. But to start off, to even begin selling and seeing how people respond to it, what do we need?
Well, as I've already told the beer board, I feel like you have to be satisfied that they meet the requirements of state law, which is a limited service restaurant or one of the other 22 allowed premises under 574101.
So would you guys like to come visit and see the premises, or is the drawings that you have received enough?
No, that's not enough. What the testimony here today is you don't meet it.
Okay, then would you guys like to come out and see? And
I'm not certain, I mean, the testimony is it doesn't meet it. You're not serving food prepared on site and you don't have 40 seats. And so I feel like I would be asking the beer board to defer the application instead of shooting it down, to defer it, for us to have more private conversation with you all about, hey, let's explore what you actually have to do to be a limited service restaurant.
okay,
Because I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I walked in, or actually got the application and looked at it yesterday. Originally, there was going to be food not only served like chips and things, but you were going to prepare food right there on the site, and serve it, gets into the definition of a restaurant. So I think all of us have thought you were going to be a limited service restaurant.
okay. So in the past, this area is, I think Jeremy from the health department had said, with the health department that we passed, we're able to serve hot dogs, or nachos.
Mhm.
So we had said, yes, we're going to do that. I don't know how the application was filled out, but we are able, with what we've been approved, we're able to comply with that. We're able to serve the hot dogs and nachos that's prepared. So when you defer this, do we come in again and just sit and talk? Or how would this work out?
I feel like we probably need to have conversations, maybe have Dawn, myself, someone from the city, sit down with you all and explain and say, here's where you need to go maybe to explore some of this. You're going to need to make certain, and you need to come up with what you think you want to sell, and that needs to be a part of your plan.
Mhm.
This is what we're going to do every weekend. And then, I mean, I don't know enough. I would probably want to talk to Brian. the health department, what the health department says, it's a food service establishment. I don't know exactly what they looked under. I don't know. And the capacity is 20. I feel like that's gonna have to change. You're gonna have an update to the health permit. I mean, right now, I have to tell my beer board, you've got evidence in your packet that shows they don't meet the definition of a limited service restaurant. Just that number right there, it says you don't meet the number.
Right.
So that's obviously gonna probably have to change. So, that would just be my recommendation, is to give them an opportunity to look again at about what is the business that they're running. And I will try to give you as much help as possible, but once again, my advice is to this board about what they can and cannot do.
Okay.
Questions?
About how much time do you all think you'll need to sit down, meet, expand capacity, speak to the health department, get things, maybe put a menu together?
I think we can put the menu together rather quickly, and then the expansion, it's able to be done, just we have to find the budget again, and then have the health department go back out there, or codes, I'm not sure, both of them had to go back out there. As you know, they're not easy to come out there, so I don't know how long, but I'm honestly scared now, because if he has approved us as a health department with what we have, but then we want a limited restaurant, if that's going to require walls, that's going to take completely different, I mean, it's not going to be what we're looking.
But you did state that you guys told the health department that you were gonna serve hot dogs and.
Yes,
stuff,
because
something.
when I called Jeremy directly, you can do that out of what we have, so is that enough? I want to know.
So my question would be, is if the health department is also looking at this as a concession stand and not necessarily a restaurant, because they are completely different definitions, and the requirements for each are completely opposite. I mean, like,
Again,
goes back.
that's been my concern, which is why I was like, how did we get turned around here?
Right.
Because I thought it was established months and months ago. What you're doing is a limited service restaurant. That's how you would be able to do this. How you would be able to get a beer permit.
I understand that.
So I would go back, I guess my question one would be, go back to Jeremy, health department. If this is our menu, is this establishment enough? If the answer is yes, then we go on to how do we meet the capacity number? So we'll start with him, and then the codes of how do we meet the 40? How much do we have to extend? And then how long will it take us to extend? I don't know, but we can do that.
And Jim was really reasonable. on
Yes,
that.
he is.
Jim's
I like
really-
working with
Really
him.
great guy, really great,
Mhm.
person to work with in the state, so I'm sure you guys can talk and
Yes.
he'll give you some good advice and suggestions on how to make that work, so.
Even if you do expand the area, you can always rope off part of it.
Yeah, because we're not, I mean, again, it's only Saturday and Sunday. We're not looking to have people there all day drinking. It's not our intent. It's just a hot Saturday, have a beer. And then my thinking was, after the roped area that we do have, or the area that is secluded, outside of that, have some benches, the family can be there waiting or whatever. But you have two pavilions where we have vendors that you can have a beer and then go shop. It's not a sit down, let's get drunk opportunity. It's not what we're looking for. We want just a hangout place, like what Don was saying, when you go to the Oktoberfest or when you go to farmer's market in Nashville. You come in, you have a beer, and then you go through the two doors the whole thing that they have, and that the beer is outside. So you sit down, you have the beer, and then you can go shopping. That's all we're looking for. It's not a huge, let's get drunk tonight in Shelbyville, okay?
Anything else? I'm just curious, she keeps saying we. Are you involved in this business?
Not with her, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm with the Shelbyville Flea Market, but she's my friend, so,
I got you.
yes.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Mhm.
All right, I make a motion then to defer
Okay,
Have a motion to defer, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Or vote, next meeting?
2 months, like 2 meetings from now, next meeting,
next meeting,
next meeting,
next meeting.
Or
We do already have an application for next month, so we will have a meeting next month. It will be, oh, hang on just a second, I'll give you the date. It will be October 8th. Same time.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, good, good, good.
Thank you all.
All right, next, other business, discussion of the entertainment district.
Okay, are we ready?
We're ready?
Sorry. Make sure I put stuff away.
No, you're good.
One more.
No, you're good.
Okay, defer.
So my other, not now.
Okay. Last week at our study session, I sort of got a head nod from my city council to take to you all to start getting your feedback on an entertainment district here in Shelbyville. So let me back up and tell you, the area of town we're talking about is what you may already be familiar, and it's South Spring Street, which is off the corner of the square. It's big from West Depot, basically back to McGrew, a little bit on McGrew. This is a part of a very large, long-term project of the city of Shelbyville that really started with council probably in 2018, 2019. Council started having discussions about economic revitalization of the downtown or uptown, some people call it uptown, square area. Council really started looking, and we did a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work exploring ways that we could partner with private businesses, what we could do on our own in terms of investing in infrastructure, investing in buildings around the square. That started happening in 2018, 2019. We were just about to go to Kingsport, Tennessee in March of 2020 to go explore and actually have to sit down, explore their area and have to sit down with them about the type of nonprofit that they had started and the designation they had made around their economic downtown development area. I did all that kind of exploration. We had talked to the Shelbyville Housing Authority. We were doing all that when COVID hit. So I bet all of that got delayed probably at least a year, didn't it, Lisa?
Yeah, at least.
So what happened was, as some of you may know, the city, an opportunity came up for the city to buy property along the west side of South Spring Street. And we did. And I'm sure some of you are aware that then we went through a whole, basically, request for proposals process. It wasn't a bidding process per se, but more of what will you do if we sell these buildings to you? What will you put into it? And so that was the city's way of trying to get a business to come to Shelbyville to renovate those historic buildings. And that was a part of it. The buildings have got to stay. They're old, historic. We want them to stay. We want to create that type of atmosphere on the city square. Running along that idea is that the city has been exploring about the same time as a part of economic revitalization is a way for the city to use its biggest and underutilized asset, the Duck River. And so we actually went through, gosh, Lisa, I think it was even before 2018. We had MTAS, we had actually the Public Policy Institute at Knoxville explore some things that we could do with the Duck River. And so right now, the city of Shelbyville, we've got a grant from the state. We are in the process of developing a long, what we call the River Walk, which will be along the ridge. It's going to be very nice. It's going to start.
Do we have a graphic of that plan? I think I've seen a picture of this. this.
You may have.
Layout.
We have a whole lot, and I'm sorry I don't have it tonight. Tonight's really more for me to give you an introduction about the discussion we want to have. The river walk is going to be about right up here, and it's going to go, and it's going to go, and it's going to go. It's going to go down the river bottom part. So that's on the ridge. The other piece of that is the river overlook. We are going to have a beautiful piece of infrastructure that actually juts out over the river that people are going to be able to walk on and be able.
Cantilevered out over.
Yes, over the river. It's going to be very, very, very nice. We just finished our.
I think it's gonna be like right around
Yeah.
here. And of course, all this overgrowth will be
A
gone.
lot of that will be cut back.
Yeah.
And so that is one part. When I talk about the overlook and the river walk, that is. Lisa, you okay?
Yeah, my chair, I need a mat. There's so much chair don't roll.
Roll. I do too. I tend to roll back over here. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Everybody's
Get
safe.
into the air
Into the
conditioner
now.
out there. Sorry, y'all.
We'll edit that part out, Ms. Lisa.
It's that far out. Yeah.
So let me just say, because you're gonna, it's a lot to keep up with. A lot of people get confused. When I talk about the overlook and the river walk, river overlook, overlook, and river walk, that is a part of a state grant that we've got, okay? So that was huge for the city as a piece that we know, because they kept telling us that all the public institutes in Tennessee, TDEC, everybody was telling us, you do not use your river. You do not use your river. And if you're trying to do economic development and revitalization of the downtown area, you need to start connecting to the Duck River.
You don't have to sell me on this.
Oh,
Listen, I think it's a fabulous idea.
thank you.
Shelbyville was the model for all the squares of the United
The
States.
Shelbyville Square,
But we're
yes.
behind. You have other cities that have these areas and they're selling alcohol and they have these entertainment and arts districts.
Sure.
And our square system, the court system moved out. It's been kind of dead.
Well,
I think this will boost that.
and that's why the city started having,
Yeah.
really got the city talking about this in 2018, 2019. So understand, that is a separate project. It's related to the next thing I'm gonna say. At the same time, after we discovered, hey, we're gonna actually get this grant from the state. We're gonna be doing, the state would love to see us do is connect to the river. Got that. The city decided, as a part of that, we have got to clean up South Spring Street. You've got to clean it up. There were empty, unused buildings there, lots that are overgrown and not used. So, on its own dime, the city has been doing what's called the Riverview District. Okay? So the Riverview District will be from West Depot Street basically to down here. And that is what they want to do as a pedestrian walkway. But the city has already put a lot of money into trying to clean up the infrastructure here. I'm sure you're already aware that we have expanded this and made this parking lot. The plan is, hopefully fairly soon, we are going to make this land which we bought, this is going to be a parking area. So the whole concept is that folks will be able to, hopefully pedestrian, walk down here. We're going to have a giant seal of the city, hopefully right here. And people are going to have access to come in and go over to the river. Part of that plan, down here by the fly, can I see the fly? We're hoping to have an area where we'll have concerts. We'll have stages for concerts right down here. So this is an overall concept of the Riverview District for the city of Shelbyville, understanding we're having to do it in two parts. Part of it is a state grant. We have so many more regulations that we have to do for this. And then part of this we're doing on our own. And then a part we've already accomplished quite well is that we bought those buildings and then we did that process and it was Bedco Investments that won that. And they're putting in Grindstone County. The thought being, if we can do a pedestrian walkway, is that we would also make it an open container district. And that's not a term of art and that's not defined anywhere, but that's basically what people call it. an open container district. And so that's why I'm here before you tonight to talk about us starting to investigate, talk through what an open container district from basically here to here would be, and then how farther out we may go. And if we need to do it in stages. We've talked about doing that in phases. Now, let me say this. The public works folks at the city say, we're probably not and won't be in a position to truly utilize this for at least a year. Okay? Which is a great time for us to now start talking about it so that we can get some of our regulations in place. So what I've told the city is we got to do two things in order to probably create it. I can create a pedestrian walkway fairly easily, and we'll take that to the planning commission. So we will not abandon this street, let's put it that way. We're not going to give it away. The city will retain its right of way to this street. What we want to do is put bollards right there and bollards right there, bollards that can be removed so that all of our emergency personnel can come in and pull that up and get through there if they need to. And there will be some delivery traffic, and understand how you will get to this parking lot over here is all of this is basically going to be one big parking lot. You'll come off McGrew and turn in here, and you could go all the way back over here to the parking lot. But you'll be coming in and out, because we want this to be pedestrian. Because the idea, again, is to pull people down here toward the river, have a stage. Everybody talks about cities going to have to do a Christmas tree or something right here, we don't know. But that's the idea. So the first thing that's pretty easy is to get the city to make it pedestrian. So to regulate the use of the street so it would no longer be used as a public through street. And so we've had conversations already with these owners about how that would look, and they understand that. So we're not hurting anybody that we don't have a walk or any of the adjacent landowners by closing that street. Open container. That's why I'm here to talk to you all tonight, because I told council that I felt like you all were the best place to start in terms of really taking a close look at it. The council's got so much on their plate to let you all do some investigation, some thinking, going back and forth, and maybe make recommendations. It's a little bit out of your wheelhouse, but I don't think you have to have state authority to do that. The other reason why I thought it was good to come to you all is I've looked at some of the cities in Tennessee that have limited open container laws, and some of them either give the power to their beer board or give it to create an alcohol commission, in which some of their festival decisions are brought to the beer board. Now, understand right now, under state law, all you can do is beer. But I feel like our council has the ability to grant you all the power that it has if we want to expand it for purposes of special event permits, where you might allow the sale of alcohol or wine. And so that's why I felt like we've already got a beer board. We've already got a very well functioning board that understands the law, that the council may decide to give that power to you all. So that was the reason. Council said, fine, go ahead and start talking about it. So let me pass around a couple of things tonight that I wanted to sort of put a pin in it so that you understand what the law is, and then what we need to start looking at and making recommendations for. Do y'all know what the open container law in the state of Tennessee is?
No. I know you can carry open, you can carry alcoholic beverages, beer. I think it can't be glass, it has to be, no,
Right, solo company.
that's so.
So what I'm passing around to you right now is the state's open container law. In the state of Tennessee, open container law only refers to the vehicle, being in an operating vehicle.
Oh, okay.
In the state of Tennessee, no driver shall consume any alcoholic beverage, so that's no drinking and driving. or beer, or possess an open container of alcoholic beverage or beer while operating a motor vehicle in this state. That's 5510.416. That is the only,
While operating.
while operating. And operating can be, your vehicle can be turned on. You can be sitting in a parking lot, it's turned on, they get you.
On a physical control.
Huh?
Physical control.
And so the key, because a lot of people don't realize this, passengers can drink all they want to in a moving vehicle, an operating vehicle. It's got to be in their possession. And so possession is a part of it. Is it in possession of the driver is the key. If another human being in the vehicle, and Pat, tell me if I'm speaking wrong, there's my police back there. If a person, somebody else is holding it, an open container, and we're talking about open containers. If you've got a bottle of whatever with a seal on it, the seal's not been broken. It's not an open container. But just say that you had a Solo cup with beer in it. If you're a passenger and it's in your hand, that's not a violation of the Tennessee state open container law. If you have an open container anywhere in the passenger compartment not held by a passenger, that is deemed to be in the possession of the driver. And then you're in trouble. And so the only other alternative is that you don't have it in a passenger compartment. So you can have it in the glove compartment, you can have it in the trunk, whatever. So a lot of people think that it is illegal in the state of Tennessee to be on a public sidewalk or a public park with an open container of alcohol. That is not true. That is not a state law. The law on that is all local. So a lot of cities have laws that say you can't be in those public type places with an open container. And so let me show you what ours is. And I printed out a very large portion of our municipal code. And let me tell you, you all know, but I printed this off our website. There are some things that may be updated by ordinance that Lisa and I have not had time to thoroughly go through and research. But I think for the most part, this is all true. So this is in Title 10 of the Shelbyville Municipal Code. The first section I printed off for you just to know, because we stated in 1979 that all misdemeanors of the state are adopted. That's fine. Not all misdemeanors of the state can we take to municipal court. Let's put it that way. We can only do Class C misdemeanors. Isn't that right, Pat? Class C.
I didn't know you can't use profanity on a public street.
Sure. So the main that I pulled out is in Title 10, Chapter 2, is where we talk about miscellaneous violations of city, and it's really not city law, I should say city regulations. And so let me back up and say a little bit about the nature of the Shelbyville Municipal Code. The Shelbyville Municipal Code is local ordinances. And we have a local municipal court that does not have concurrent jurisdiction with the Bedford County General Sessions Court. That's very important. It means that in the city of Shelbyville, everything is from the perspective of us enforcing our own local rules, it's civil. We take it into Shelbyville City Court. And the only thing you can do is find someone in violation of that and fine them up to $50 a day. That is well-established law in the state of Tennessee due to a lawsuit that occurred with the city of Chattanooga. The Tennessee Supreme Court has clearly said the only time you could be fined more than $50 for a violation is by a jury of your peers, and we can't have a jury in our type of court. That's all important later on when I'm telling you about what we're about to set up, what we're trying to do. So if you'll look on our Chapter 2 enumerated, Section 10-220 is drinking beer, etc. on streets. As far as I have been able to find, this is the only place where the city of Shelbyville has adopted an open container ban in the city. And it talks, and here's what it says. It shall be unlawful for any person to drink or consume or have an open can or bottle of beer in or on any public street, alley, avenue, highway, sidewalk, public park, public school ground, or other public place, unless the place has a beer permit and license for on-premises consumption. As you can tell, the only thing we ban is beer. So I think that's going to be a surprise even to some of my council members.
So you're telling me someone could go down here, News Green, and drink a bottle of News Green and walk around the square?
I'm telling you, I don't think that, I don't think there is. I mean, this is our state. The state does not have a law where it prohibits you from drinking and it prohibits you from having an actual Jack Daniel fifth standing on a sidewalk.
But if you
The
have a,
state doesn't have that.
but if you have a bottle of beer, then you could be taken into city court.
According to my code, that's what it says.
Wow.
And so I don't think, so let me back up and say this. One, Pat, am I correct in saying y'all really don't have a problem with that?
No, we don't.
We don't have a problem with people walking around with open containers. I think it's just, people just don't do it. They just know they don't do it. So one, I clearly have to bring that to the attention of my full council because they may want to change it. And they probably do, because what they want to do in general, what the city wants to do is to create an area in which open consumption is allowed within a certain area. So this is one of the sections that I would need to change, that by ordinance we would need to change. And we'll go through what some certain cities have done. So that's one of the key areas that we've got to look at. And then I also wanted to hand out to you, and this is not so much for right now, but as we will be going through and looking at all the things about what we're going to do on a city street, this is miscellaneous provisions relating to streets. And there's several things about banners and what you can have on them. I just felt like I wanted to give that to you so that you would be able to, like, placing or displaying goods, wares, merchandise. Some of that I think may come into play as we get deep in the weeds on an entertainment district. So that is the material I just wanted you all to have and kind of understand about open container districts. I'm looking at, and I want to prepare for you all a chart that sort of tells you different places in Tennessee and how they've created what they do. Obviously, the most well-known is Beale Street, okay? There is a very specific provision in the Memphis Municipal Code that exempts Beale Street from their open container law. So Memphis has one that basically says you can't be out with alcohol, beer, whatever, except in certain areas. And so I feel like our law would sort of mimic that. We would say in general, as a general provision in the city, you can't be out on a street or a public way or a public park with alcohol, beer, whatever. You would have that kind of law. But then you would make an exception for a particular area. We would need to clearly define the boundaries of that area and then put in any type of special law, special regulations you want, whether you want hours that can be sold, whether you want to ban certain type of containers, whether you want to require a certain kind of container. And what I'm referring to there is most places that allow open container and consumptions out in the public right of way, most of them have a ban on glass.
Yeah.
Some of them have a ban on metal and aluminum or anything like that. Have to be in plastic. The city of Chattanooga went one further. For Station Street in Chattanooga, you have to have it in a special cup. Not just any old plastic cup, but a special cup. And those cups only come from the people that are adjacent to that district, you basically have to go in there and to go in there and buy it and come out, you have to have their cup. That special, that's got Station Street on it. And that points out something I want to make sure that you realize, and council mentioned this the other day. The way Memphis, and I think the way Nashville, from an open container standpoint, you can walk up to Bill Street with your open container. You can get it there. Or you can walk in and create your open container. So follow me, you don't necessarily have to buy it from somebody that's in the district. Okay? Whereas Chattanooga seemed to make certain that we are trying to do this for economic development. You will have to have somebody along that area of Station Street, you will have to have bought it from them and in that cup to have it open container up and down the roadway.
Let me ask you this.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Does the city sell the cups to these businesses? Is that a revenue stream for them?
I actually don't know. That's one of the things that we brought up that we want to talk to Chattanooga about is whether they do that or not. Or do they just design the cup and make those businesses purchase again? I don't. That question came up last week. That's one of the things that we've got to look at. In other places, you could just have a red Solo cup, which you don't know if somebody just walked up with that themselves. And so let me talk about Nashville. So Chattanooga specifically says this street, this area, open container, as long as you've got it in this type of container. Memphis, same way. Nashville is a little bit different, and I've always heard competing things about what Nashville does. Nashville has an open container law, meaning they ban open containers on their streets, alleyways, sidewalks, so forth. For any alcoholic beverages, and I printed it to make certain, you can't have it in your possession, an open container, in a glass, aluminum, or metal container, unless it's sealed. So what does that tell you? It bans glass, aluminum, or metal. It says nothing about plastic. So guess how the police in Nashville enforce that? You got it in a plastic cup, and you're not bothering anybody, Metro kind of leaves you alone along Broadway. It's not a true open container district, but they wrote it to the point as you can't be cited in Nashville if it's in a plastic cup.
I think it's okay to advertise. There's going to be challenges, but I think we should do something as a city to bring more people, have that arts and entertainment. And, you know, I go to Vegas a lot for work, you know, the Fremont Street experience. We can make a whole experience out of this River Street.
And that's the idea.
Very nice. It'd be a very nice thing.
And that's
I'm
the
sure there's
idea.
Challenges. I'm sure the police will have challenges, but that'll give us a reason to hire more officers on the road and grow. And you never know, right? We want to grow. We can't be stuck in 1979 like some of these ordinances are.
Yeah.
I mean, not for nothing.
Yeah. But that, to show you, there's a variety of ways to go about coming up with what you want to do. So I'm just giving you a couple of the big ones right now about creating an actual district. I think the city's going to want to create, they're not going to do Nashville because the way I read Nashville, that would be anywhere in Nashville.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Anywhere in metropolitan Nashville, you could be out on the sidewalk with a plastic Solo cup.
But
I'm not sure that's what Nashville want, but anyway, that's how that's kind of weird.
I do feel like this would probably be down the road. It would be good to include the square at some point, just to help and promote those businesses. Our squares are beautiful, all the new trees, and the sidewalks, and the new display and everything. And you got the
I forgot to mention all the what the city has done in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, it's very
Square
very
construction.
nice. I mean, people should, I think they should be able to walk down the square and have a drink and, you know, sit outside on some patios and, you know, go to some of these businesses outside, you know, what is it, the other restaurant that, what's it called?
Grindstone.
Not Grindstone, the other restaurant.
Glass Hollow.
Glass Hollow, yeah.
Table
Glass
and
Hollow and Tavern and go out and have a drink, you know what I'm saying? I think it would be a very nice thing. Maybe add some more trash cans out there, of course, but,
Sure.
and that doesn't have to be
Trash
just
cans and
pedestrian.
signage.
trash cans and signage doesn't have to be, just pedestrian only. Some cities don't, it's not, Broadway's
Sure.
not pedestrian only.
Sure.
I think it'd be a great thing. We just got to figure out how we want to do it. But I mean, I would ask council, because, we're going to have to maybe try to have some oversight over the liquor on the street.
Well,
For
and that,
that part, and maybe designate the beer board as the Shelbyville Alcoholic Beverage Board.
once we get to that, if we want to start doing, well, and let's talk about area, because to me, that's very important. And as I've talked to many people at the city last week about, I've seen this maybe happening in phases. And I'm gonna come back to what Chattanooga has a little side thing going on, not just Station Street, but they've made what they call parklet cafes, which allows a premises that has an ongoing type of alcohol or beer permit to bring their outdoor patio into public right of way. But they have to do certain things. They still have to rope it off. They have to make it so that their, whatever permit they have recognizes that they're coming out into the public way. It's basically an extension of premises. As I was speaking to the lady that was here on her application, premises for purposes of an alcohol, beer, whatever type of permit is very important. It's the premises of the business which allows you can sell and serve to someone on whatever are your premises. So there have been conversations about allowing along that street, once we close it for through traffic and just limit it, make it become regulated as a pedestrian walkway, that we allow the businesses on either side of the street to maybe have an open place. They could put tables, chairs, and serve not only food, but alcohol out in those areas. So Chattanooga has a template that we could look at, and that being, they call it Parklet Cafe. I'm not sure where they come up with that idea. I'm going to talk to them about that. We may call it something else. We've had a conversation, that may be the very first thing we do, is the first, sort of a first phase, and see how well that goes. But we've got to determine how much authority you give to those individual business about what they can and cannot do in that public way.
Because that's going to be hard to cite someone if they get into a fight or they're public intoxication and take actions on permits. So that's where the challenge I see.
Well, we can still, they get in a fight, they're gonna come for it. They're gonna come.
But that's where I see challenges are on taking action on beer permits and whatnot. I'm sure most of those businesses probably have full alcohol licenses.
I don't know what Beth and them are on Grindstone Cabins, but clearly, Glass Hollow Table certainly has theirs. A second phase that we have talked about, and we wouldn't want to put this truly into effect until that entire street, and I don't even think I talked about the completion of the street. The city in the Riverview district, not the walkway or overlook of the river. That street itself, the city's completely redoing that street. I don't know if you're aware of that. That's what I was talking about. We've done a lot. We're going to do a lot with the parking lots, but we're completely redoing the street. All the utilities are going underground. We're trying to make it look very, very nice. We're going to do special type of lights, as we call it for the public works. They're going to try to make it pretty, all the pretty things, to make it inviting down. So we're doing all that. And so the second phase really would be all the way down to McGrew Street and past that, so that you're running into the Fly, where the Fly building is. You're running into that public area, public land where we would put the stage. That you would create the open container district, really the street, the sidewalk, and down to there. There are two other phases, and probably you could make many more phases of that. And that's discussion of, would you allow open container more in the parking lots, as well as going maybe to the overlook or to the walkway. We just need to have that conversation. And then, if any of you all watched our study session the other night, Councilman Feldhouse is in favor of having the open container district being really for the entire square. That's his position. And so that may be, I think that may be something that you could, once again, phase in over time. If you do a little bit and see how it works, do a little bit and see how it works. For me, I know I would prefer that we don't open up our open container district until we have got that road completed. We've got the place that we know, because I don't want people just walking for the sake of walking down there. I want them to have some place to go.
Yeah,
They're going for a reason
to do it right, do it.
to see
right.
it. And so, once again, we're seeing that as a gathering area. And there's a lot of good things going on. And various people in the community have a part to play in that, about being able to bring entertainment to that area. You know, we've got, I'm sure Glass Hollow may do some of that too when they get their tavern open. But obviously Grindstone Cowboy's gonna have something going on with their entertainment. So I see that happening in terms of the open container district, maybe happening in phases. Don't know. But those are things that I want to talk with you all about what you think. And recommendations, but a part of that also, we've got to keep in mind noise regulations, hours of operation, how far you want the district to go, those type of things.
Yes, because there's residences on the square, correct? There's apartments on one side, there's other residences.
Right now, so if you're talking about the corner we're talking about, Glass Hollow Table and Tavern, of course, is one corner of that. They now have basically rooms to rent, bed and breakfast type things upstairs. So there are people there,
So they present hotels on.
but that's not their residence.
Yes.
And then there's not going to be residences, to my knowledge, right now, where Bedco owns the building on the west side. So Glass Hollow owns everything on the east side of South Spring Street. Glass Hollow and the city, Bedco and the city owns all the land on the west side, close toward the river. So you don't have a lot of other people. And then you've got the Ply building, you've got the power system. So there's not residential there. The other residential would be in the Gunner building.
That's next to the county clerk's office, coming south.
Yeah, so that's the big yellow building on the corner.
Okay.
So those are our apartments above. If you know where my law firm is on the second floor, and then you've got our real estate department, and then a couple of businesses on the ground floor. So you do have residences up there. So those are things to keep in mind. And so you may want to put certain hours of operation. Maybe the restaurant still goes. Maybe they still can serve inside the building a certain amount of time, but you may say, we think that serving and consuming outside should be limited. Those are just the things that I think you need to consider.
Weekdays.
Think about.
Weekends, maybe a little later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
what's,
those
what's the
kind
music
of things.
schedule gonna be? Live music, I mean, how late you think live music will go?
I have no idea. That we're not far into that enough.
So that could probably go
Let's talk to Pat.
hand in hand.
When you all do special event permits because we have had concerts on the square. Now, there's not been alcohol sales there, but concerts on the square, do we have a specific limit of time on those? Do you know?
I'm not aware.
I don't think that we do. But I don't think we've had people that have come in and said, we want to play till.
They're
Is it
required to put their time on there, like from and to, and there've never been anybody that's put one in that went past 11.
I was about to say, I don't think anybody's done one past 11, but I don't think we have a standard that you can't play past. I don't think we've ever adopted that in our municipal code. I don't think that exists. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, that as you want to develop a district like this, we're going to put some guardrails on it.
Things are gonna run a little later on the weekends, they do, especially got alcohol involved,
Sure.
Midnight would probably be
Sure.
reasonable.
Sure. And going back to what I was talking about, maybe phase 4, have the district be square wide. There's something to consider for maybe allowing special event permits that we designate a particular area in the city, that if you have an event, you can come to us, get an application, and we may allow open container and consumptions during a special event, given that you've got all the guardrails around it. And so I could see somebody saying, we want the square, because we do close off the square for certain special events. And so that could become a component of that. We don't have that right now. We don't do that right now. But that's just another idea. So lots of moving pieces, lots of things to consider. I feel like I just dropped it on you tonight, but that's why I gave you some of this stuff, material. I don't really expect you to have a lot of feedback tonight. I just want to kind of plant the seed. We want to keep this on your agenda and keep talking about it as we go forward.
Now, I do know we were in the process of updating things with our beer ordinance. So is this gonna run concurrent with that or should we
Oh, I think
finish
absolutely.
that first or then make changes or just hold off on that and focus on what we want to do and then come back and revisit the whole ordinance later and then have a complete new ordinance down the road?
I think we all need to do it all together. Get our
Okay.
heads together.
I just think it's
I do.
really important to be with collaboration and alignment with city council with this too, so make sure that we're all on the same page and that's done right, because you have too many hands in the kitchen, it can get kind of messy.
Well, one of the things that because they kind of give me a head nod, yes, please go do this. And also go please talk to the planning commission about the road. The use of the road.
Planning, yes, planning and.
And so I don't really want to talk about the beer issues specifically with the planning commission. I mean, I'll answer their questions. Main thing is about the use of the road, because they get to give a recommendation on that under state law. What I plan on doing is basically reporting back to council every time you all meet and we have discussion about it and say, here's where we are. Here's what we talked about. Just kind of give a report on. And so when you all start maybe giving, here's kind of what we want to look at, we want to see, here's kind of what we're thinking about. You may not have come to a final draft of an ordinance that you would, want to make a recommendation on, but that I'm reporting to them so they kind of know what's happening all along. That's how I see that going. My intention was to email them the next couple of days. Hey, I sat down and talked to the beer board. This is kind of what we are. Of course, thank goodness, I do have a councilman here. I told him I'd like for him to come if he could.
Well, we had one, how about the 3-minute version, kind of where are you at? Just in general, like,
Yeah, we're just.
real high level view.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gathering information at this point. So, and like she said, I mean, we're probably a year out from the road being ready, so there's no rush to make a decision at this point. We want you guys to talk it through for a few months for sure, give recommendations, we'll get recommendations from planning, and then we'll get to debate it. I mean, I've already got a lot of feedback about it. I mean, the public's already, I noticed it's on the cover of the Post today.
Positive.
I ran a poll, an online poll, got about 1,400 responses, 80-20 positive, 80% positive. But everybody that's reached out and commented and sent an email has been 100% no. So the people that are against it are strong.
Very vocal.
Are very vocal.
Which is
Yeah.
politics in general, as you all know.
Yeah.
The naysayers reach out more than people that are behind something.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes.
1,400. We got 1,400 responses. Yeah, that was a Facebook poll, so they had to attach their name to it. We could see who voted. You couldn't double vote. You couldn't, vote both sides. We could look at the list and say, hey, I know the people on this list.
Roughly 80-20.
And it was right at exactly 80-20, yeah.
I didn't see this poll.
Well, and I think for a lot of people too, because we've had questions, well, what are you doing? I think most people think, oh, they're about to do something and they might not know what we're doing. Well, we don't know specifically either. We've not hammered out. We've just beginning to have a conversation. We think it's good. We think for the purposes of economic development, revitalization, this ties in so well to an overall plan. The city's really putting some money, time, and regulation in this particular corner of the square to hopefully truly put a kickstart to bringing more businesses back to the square.
Well, those businesses, not only the city, but those private businesses also invested. So they're.
Millions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Millions.
We have
Yes,
to
they
use
have.
the river and might as well use it to take advantage of it. At least that's something we got. A lot of other
And
cities don't have that.
Absolutely, and it's coming. I know for a lot of people, it's like, you keep talking about it, you keep talking about it. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's gonna be really nice. When Grindstone, and I'm not sure about Glass Hollow, but Grindstone's gonna have rooftop, and it's beautiful up there. It's very pretty. It's one heck of a view of the river and the courthouse from that roof. So, that's what we want to do. And that's the purpose. And so I want to get back to telling you again about open container. One thing I forgot to mention. From an open container standpoint right now, my city police could issue a citation into Shelbyville Municipal Court if somebody was standing on South Spring Street with an open container of beer, drinking it. They could cite them. What would happen is they would have to come into Shelbyville Municipal Court, and the maximum that could be imposed upon them is a $50 fine. And that's it. And when you get back to the state law on open container is not as dramatic as you think it would be. If you violate the open container, that's not about if you're impaired. That's a whole different law. Very different law. State law, you can go to jail for that. Open container, you can't even be arrested for it. It specifically says it in the statute in the state. They have to give you a citation in lieu of, because there's a lot of different types of misdemeanors in which the police officer has or the sheriff deputy, they have discretion about whether they arrest you for something or issue a citation in lieu and you can come in, as my police officer here knows. In Tennessee, under the open container, so if you're driving down the road, you've got an open container, and they can cite you for it. Basically, they have to just cite you. They don't arrest you for that. They could, if you refuse to sign the citation, you can be arrested. That's a whole other thing. But if you sign it, that's it. And it's a fine. State law also says you can't go to jail for it. So keep that in mind about what the punishment for those things are. It's not as, I don't want to say this, as big of a deal as I think a lot of people think it is.
But still, he points against your driver's license.
It can be, yes, it can be. I'm not encouraging anybody to do it, but I'm talking about open container. I think a lot of people are maybe aghast at the thought of having a place where people can walk up and down with an open container when even the state of Tennessee does not prohibit that in general in the state. That's local law. And there's a lot more cities than you think that have created somewhat of a small district in which that can take place. Now, that's not to say, there's a difference from the law being what it is and people just not taking advantage of it to you advertising. This is an open container district. Please come and be a part of our restaurants and get the plastic container. You can walk down to where we're having a concert tonight. That's different. I get it. I completely get that.
We're gonna advertise it, of course. You should.
Well, that would be the whole point, is because you want people to be drawn down to that area. You want people to patronize those businesses. You want those people to participate in public life in some way. If we're going to have, city events or open events or festivals or whatever, you want people to come and to be a part. And hopefully that has a blooming effect across the entire square. That's where the city's been. That's what the city's been thinking about. So, don't know if we'll get there with this, but this is us just sort of opening the conversation and council wanting to hear your feedback.
So is this something that, I know we've kind of thrown around roughly a year before really anything happens. Is this something that we're wanting feedback on a monthly basis? We're going to talk about this, or is this every couple months, or what are we?
I'm thinking right now, yes, on a monthly basis. And what I need to do, if you all want to give me an idea right now, perfectly fine. I'm not trying to cut you off. But I want to prepare for you, and it's going to take a little bit more time, sort of a matrix, if you want, of other cities in Tennessee and what they do and how. And I gave you a little bit. Here's what Memphis does. Here's what Chattanooga does. I need to do Clarksville. Like I said, Nashville does not have a designated district. It's just that their open container ban is written where anybody can walk down the street with a red cello cup. I'm pretty sure it's not what my council has in mind. And so I do think that, and they may want, once all of them understand where our current open container ban is, they may want to immediately do something with that. I don't know. I'm not encouraging people in the city of Shelbyville to run out and start walking down Madison Street at all. That's not what we're encouraging. But right now, alcohol and wine is not specifically put in the ban. I think it was supposed to be, because if you look at the caption, it says beer, etc. But it doesn't specifically name it in the body of the,
And all that's getting updated through test too, right? The city,
well, we hope so.
the city's codes.
Yes. Yeah, and that's one good thing I always have to remind everybody. Our municipal code is on our website. Actually, MTAS hosts it, and then it's on our website, so there's a link through. But you'll notice that, and when you notice at the top, it'll tell you change of, the beer is changed April 9th, 2015. That means it was last codified. That's the magic word. Meaning, we pass ordinances all the time, but that doesn't mean it gets administratively put into the entire document. We have a standalone ordinance that changes it. So we do have an approved, and we've got a software program. We're going to MuniCode. So you'll notice places like Chattanooga, Memphis, Murfreesboro, Nashville all have MuniCode, which means every month in which their council changes something from an ordinance, it's automatically updated. It's a live working document that somebody takes care of.
All in one place.
We're all in one place. We're going to that. So right now, if you're trying to do research about our law, you've got to look at our municipal code. Then you've got to go to Miss Lisa Smith and go, Miss Lisa, will you check all of our ordinances back to a certain time? Have we changed this particular section? Or have we added something about a particular subject? And then she has to do that research.
We're pound masters.
Yes, yeah. All that kind of stuff.
All that stuff.
All that kind of stuff. Well, that's coming, and that is going to make life, it's going to make life so much better for everybody in the city of Shelbyville. Particularly me and Lisa. But just, it's going to help everyone because our citizens or anybody else that's interested, developers, anybody that wants to come and find out what the regulations are in the city, they can rely then really more on what's online. Right now, online is just really a starting point.
I mean, we need to build a more modern, world-class city here. We need to get with the times.
That's right.
Shelbyville's got to grow. It's coming.
Yeah, and we're getting there. We've got that coming. That's going to be really nice when we have it. But
It's gonna be sooner than later. Getting really close.
that's good. But that's one of the, we're going through a codification right now. We've got to get it all codified and just working, and then boom, it's going to go. We'll get it on the MuniCode, and it's going to be beautiful.
We should have a special
So
event for that and have the alcohol and the party on the square. Yeah.
By the Christmas tree.
Buy the Christmas tree on the steel is what I'm looking for.
We'll get someone to perform music.
Yeah. So anyway, do you all have any questions? That's a lot of information I've thrown at you tonight.
No, I won't.
Any questions about the Riverview District or the Riverwalk or the Overlook?
I'm sure they'll
It's
be
called washing my vehicle on the street.
Yeah, you can't do
You
that.
can't sell fruit on the street either. I just looked at
The
that.
vehicles, that's to keep your soap out of our stormwater drainage. That's important. That's what that's for. You're not supposed to allow it to go into our stormwater drains. Brian Dickey will come after you.
Some of the stuff's a little.
I don't have a storm drain anywhere near where I live.
Not supposed to get to the street. At all, because eventually it can wash out. In your yard's a different matter if it goes into the ground. What was I gonna say? Oh, again, I'm gonna try to bring back to you, sort of a matrix that shows you what other places do. So that you can, on various issues, time, place, noise,
how it's written.
cups, how it's written, all that kind of
I'd
stuff.
like to see the general site plan for all of that too. That'd be kind of, I know there's one.
Absolutely.
There's one out there. I can't remember.
Yes,
I've seen it before.
Yeah, we've got several for the Riverview District, and of course, that was just sort of an aerial actually on land. We'll bring you some drawings of what it is, how big the parking lot's gonna be. And I should say, to keep in mind, I know that our Public Works Director has said that in his opinion, the district, the open container part of the district, needs to at least encompass those parking lot areas, because what will the overall plan or vision for this would be, where the stage is gonna be, people would come and sit in the parking lots. And so when you're having a special event, we probably would, block off the parking lots for actual parking right there. They would have to go to River Bottom or use our parking lot that's across the street, or park on the square, or park down behind, the old, where the little old bank drive-through is that the county owns, so that those areas would remain open for people to walk around, bring their lawn chairs, sit and do whatever, and listen to what's going on stage.
Also parking, is it gonna be free parking or is it paid parking or metered parking?
The only thing that I know of right now is that it's free parking.
City parking, so it's all free right now.
So right now, there's not been discussion. I'm not saying that that could not change, but there's not been a discussion of metering or paid parking at this point.
I mean, everybody pays, for you go to the mall now, you gotta pay for parking.
Sure.
I mean, it's cheap.
That's why I'm saying,
What's the
I don't
meters
know
out
if
there?
that will change.
What's that?
There's a bunch of meters out there. with them.
No, you scan the QR code, you put your license plate.
Sure.
Look at our beautiful, I'm sending the
Right
police
now.
under to ticket everybody.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Right now, no.
No.
The answer right now is no. That does not mean that can change. I mean, that could change.
I think council should wait on charging for parking for a while, so we grow everything, and then
Mhm.
if they wanna charge for parking down the road, some
Sure.
kind of cheap, whatever, and that's all council.
Sure. Well,
That's not my decision, I don't wanna be the one, he said they were gonna, no, people, no, that's not me.
sure.
I want it free.
Sure. Again, before we close on this part of your agenda, and if you have any questions, feel free to pick up the phone or call me or email me. But I hope to bring back to you next month, the beginning of a matrix that we can just start talking about a couple of things. And we'll bring you some site drawings. And so you'll know exactly, here's where the parking lot is. Here's where we think the overlook's gonna be. Here's where the drawings right now for the Riverwalk. I'll bring all that to you. That vision will help you. And as far as if y'all wanna go do a walkthrough, we can do a site visit. We can go down there and walk it.
Get a short bus and take us down.
It's right here.
We can do it.
Meet over.
It wouldn't take too long to do that, if y'all are interested in doing that at some point.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn. Question.
Oh, we got one more thing.
We got one.
One question. Any questions?
No, I'm
Well, that's something. Perfect. All right, next, moving on, reports from staff.
Very quickly, in your packet, there was a violation record report for SAR 69. However, it does appear by the report and by the police incident report that I also included, that what happened was one of the employees' wives, who he was separated from, got intoxicated and came in the bar and made a scene, and they called the police because she refused to leave. And so the police ended up arresting her for public intoxication. But since there was a bar incident report, I'm going to send it to y'all so y'all can be made aware of it.
I read the report, seemed to me they did what they should have done.
Yeah, it reports me at this point,
To
business is fine.
the issues. Perfect. Any other reports? Anything else? Or, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Y'all
you all.
seem too happy to make that.
That's all.